Hi, everyone, and thanks for attending this Zoom event, courtesy of the world of luciddreaming.com. I want to thank Jake Thompson at wold.com for making this happen and all. My name is Robert Waggoner. I'm the author of two books on lucid dreaming. Um, Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self. This book here you might have seen. I think it's now in its 17th or 18th printing. And also another book, Lucid Dreaming, Plain and Simple, with co-author Caroline McCready. And it's also been printed numerous times, and both of these books have been translated into a variety of languages. I think more than 8 languages now, so that's great. And people even tell me that my first book, there's a version of it in Spanish now. So that's interesting. I didn't know there was a version in Spanish, but people in Spain have told me someone went ahead and translated it. So just to begin, first I want to thank everyone who was part of this 5 or 6 weeks ago. And one thing at that time, I requested people to submit lucid dreams to the free online magazine, Lucid Dreaming Experience. And so all of you who were here who submitted a lucid dream, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. The Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine is for free. Just go to luciddreamingmagazine.com, click on the cover, and you can read this issue. And also, if you go to past issues, you can read 10 or 15 years of this quarterly magazine for free. See the interviews, see the articles, and see the readers submitted lucid dreams. I did want to mention that in this particular issue, I interviewed a lucid dream artist, Dave Green from the UK. And for me, it's really fascinating to see how he plays around with lucid dreaming and uses it to access his creativity. Also, there's a wonderful lucid dream article from a lucid dreamer in Kuwait. I'm sorry, not Kuwait, in Dubai, Kareem. And it's interesting in his particular lucid dream, he interacted with Animus, who I think is the god of death, according to ancient Egyptian beliefs. There's another wonderful lucid dream in here of Mrinal Chowdhury from India. He had a lucid dream experience in which he actually seemed to get some precognitive information. So it's always fun to see what people do. And finally, I did want to mention one particular thing that I'm also involved in, and that's the Lucid Dreaming Foundation. Here in the US, we created a nonprofit I'm on the board of called the Lucid Dreaming Foundation, and we're raising funds to help fund research on using lucid dreaming to deal with panic attacks and generalized anxiety disorder. Because anecdotally, lucid dreamers have reported that they've used lucid dreaming to resolve panic attacks and anxiety disorder. And a lot of times they tell us, and what I've heard from people is that they see in the lucid dream how the mind works. That if you expect trouble, then you have trouble. But if you expect everything to work out or you expect to fly through that wall, you fly through the wall. And so they then realize that, oh, the same thing occurs in the waking state as well, that you can move through the wall if you expect you can move through the wall. But if you have doubts or fears or concerns, you're going to bounce off the wall, even though it's made out of dream stuff. And so when they begin to see how their mind works in the lucid dream state and also um, uh, in the waking state, then they begin to take control of their anxiety disorder and also their panic attacks and refuse to go down the path to a panic attack. and they get some sense of manipulating their mind in order to avoid that. And so what we're hoping to see is get some donations, get some crowd enthusiasm out there in the lucid dreaming world about the Lucid Dreaming Foundation, which you can find at luciddreamingfoundation.org, and get the donations moving so that we can begin to interact with scientific researchers and help lucid dreamers see how they can use it to resolve things beyond nightmares and moving into other issues like phobias, anxiety, those kind of things. Because if you're consciously aware in the dream state and you know it's a dream, you begin to see how the mind works. And once you start to see how the mind works, then you can begin to resolve some of the issues that you deal with. So that's it for my introduction. And at this point, I'm just going to have people ask questions. So there's two ways you can ask questions. You can put it in the chat room, or you can raise your hand like Nadja did here, and then I'll call on people. So Nadja, you can unmute, and we'll hear your question.
Hi, Robert. Thanks for answering all the questions here and that you do that monthly or regularly. I'm really, really grateful for that. And I took up your advice. Last time I asked you about what kind of tasks I could fulfill in my lucid dreams. And you mentioned I could ask to Mercedes appear and to walk on water, it was. And I both successfully managed to do so. Let the Mercedes appear. It was a really nice sports car, which I then drove off with. And I also could walk on water, which is also nice. So yeah, wanted to ask you if you could give me another task because that seemed to have worked really well. And my ideas very often get me into trouble and stuff. So
Right. Yeah, thank you so much, and congratulations on your lucid dreaming success. It's always fun when people take these ideas and play with them. One thing that I realized as I went deeper into lucid dreaming, if I didn't have an idea about what I wanted to do, that then my mind would just come up with any crazy thing, or I'd fly around and talk with dream figures, or just, and at the end of the lucid dream, nothing much had happened. So what 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 I like to experience, and I write about this in my book, is I become lucidly aware, I stabilize the lucid dream, and then normally I'll have a question for my unconscious mind, like, "Hey, dream, show me something important for me to see." And sometimes that's really just incredible because suddenly the unconscious mind comes up with something important for you to see. And also by doing that, you begin to realize that there's an unconscious awareness inside the lucid dream that's helping to create the lucid dream. Because I always point out to people, when you become lucid and you walk around the corner, who created that new scene that you're seeing? You didn't create it as a lucid dreamer. So still the unconscious or the subconscious is functioning. So that would be something you could do. What
Mhm.
other fun things?
The thing is, I already asked a few things and asked the awareness to let something appear, and then it gets really complicated and difficult for me to understand what it wants me to say with this, and then I get frustrated because it doesn't make sense to me. So I thought these kind of like easy ideas where I can, materialize something that helps me to keeps me motivated actually, because when I get frustrated with the answers I get, then I don't lose a dream anymore.
Right, right. Yeah, no, so that's a good point. So sometimes, and we notice this also in dream incubation, we'll ask, "Tonight, give me a dream to help me understand how to deal with this." And then we get a dream that helps us understand, but it's quite complicated. And then you try to interpret it, and it's hard to figure out. So sometimes I feel like the responsive unconscious mind is kind of operating at a different level than the waking ego conscious self. And so that makes it a little bit more complex. Now, what you could do is this. So this is what I learned what to do in dream incubation. So I would incubate, help me understand how to resolve this issue, and I'd have these dreams, but I couldn't figure it out. So I would restate the dream incubation the next night, and I'd say, help me understand how to resolve this situation, but give me a response that is so simple, even a kindergartner would understand it.
Mm.
So I asked to get a response that even a child would understand. And then that night I'll have a dream that is so simple as like A, B, C. And I go, oh, I get that. I get that symbolism. That makes sense. And so, it might be fun to play around with the unconscious mind and show me something important for me to see that even a child would understand.
Mm.
Because at that
Yes.
level, then it's okay, now we're getting this simplified. And now instead of feeling confused or uncertain, you go, oh, I get it. Oh, that makes a lot of
Ah.
sense.
Oh,
But
thank you so much. Yeah, that's really helpful.
but that would be fun. Also, there's interesting things that I've done. I remember one time I was driving my car in the middle of the night in New Mexico. And all of a sudden I thought, what am I doing in New Mexico in the middle of the night? And so I'm kind of driving through the mountains. And so I just let go. I become lucid and let go of the steering wheel. And the car goes off the road and I go flying into a stream. And so now I'm laying in a mountain stream at night in New Mexico in a lucid dream. And I think, I should fly up to the stars. I could see all the beautiful stars in the sky. And then I thought, why should I go to all that trouble? And so I yelled out, hey, stars, pull me up. And
Mm.
and all of a sudden, it was the most amazing thing. I felt something around my wrist pulling me up into the night sky.
Wow.
And we went higher and higher and higher. Finally, I could see it was a young woman who was pulling me up into the night sky.
Mm.
And then the most interesting thing happened. She put out her finger, and so now we're in the darkness, way, way up in the night sky. She puts out her finger and draws a line that way. Then she goes back to the starting point and draws a line down. And then she goes back to the starting point and draws a line that way. She creates a three-dimensional space for us to hang out in. And
Wow.
so I asked her, first I asked her her name, which was unusual. Then I asked her, what are you doing? And she looked at me and she said, you asked for help, so I'm helping you. And we went
Oh.
on and had a very fascinating conversation. Then at the very end of it, I asked her, how do I get back to a regular dream? And she said, oh, to get to a regular dream, go here. And so I step right into that space, and boom, I am right back into a regular dream. It was the most amazing shift from a lucid dream into a regular dream. So sometimes this would be another thing. So you don't have to do it like that because you might not find yourself in the night. You might not find yourself in New Mexico. But the next time you become lucid, ask for something in the dream to help you.
Mm.
Hey, horse over there, help me, take me somewhere interesting. Or hey, house over there, take me, show me whatever. And see what happens. You can begin to play with all of this in an interesting way. And all. The final thing I would say, if you want to play around with lucid dreams, after about 20 years of lucid dreaming, I realized that the lucid dream state was projected mental energy. So within the dream, the mind is helping to create the experience. And so when I'm looking out there, what I'm seeing is projected mental energy. So what I did, I stabilized the lucid dream. I realized that everything I was seeing was projected mental energy. And so then, like a Tai Chi master, I began to sweep all the energy, all the projected mental energy back into me. And,
Mm.
and I want to tell you what happened. That night, I had three more lucid dreams.
Wow.
So, so it's like I reclaimed all the projected mental energy, brought it back into me, and that allowed me to have many more lucid dreams. And so again, the lucid dreaming state is fantastic for being able to try things
Mm.
and all. But if you don't have a goal in mind, you'll just fly around and do silly things and talk to dream figures
Exactly.
and all. So, well, Nudge, I'm so proud of you for doing such a good job with those
Thank
suggestions
you.
last time. And
Thank you. Thank you so much for your help, Robert.
yeah, good chatting with you. Also, I think what we'll do is try to do this on a more regular basis so people know that there'll be one day each month that World of Lucid Dreaming will have me come on and do this. So,
Wonderful.
okay. Well, now I'm gonna thank you. I'm gonna let you go, and now I'm gonna go to the chat room and see what's going up. Okay. So Stefan wrote, "Hi Robert, many thanks. Are there circumstances where trying to lucid dream would probably not work, such as feeling ill or restless or tired or something not so serious?" Or other things that come to mind. I don't mean serious illness or serious psychological circumstances. So that's a wonderful thing, a wonderful question. Are there circumstances where trying to lucid dream would probably not work? And here's what I would say. Yep, there's a lot of circumstances where it wouldn't work. Um, so I've been lucid dreaming for more than 40 years, and I have noticed that um, when I'm way too focused on the outer world, I have too much work to do, too much stress, too much things going on, that then I don't have nearly as many spontaneous lucid dreams. That they just go down. But then I'll go to my family for the Christmas, New Year's holiday, and there I can sleep late. I don't have anything to do. It's all fun. And suddenly I'll have 8 lucid dreams that week. And so, what that shows me is that oftentimes when we're stressed and too focused on outer circumstances, it just naturally decreases our lucid dreaming. Also, another thing I've noticed too is that um, there used to be a teacher here in my town of Iyengar yoga. And so I'd go, for 2 hours of Iyengar yoga each week. And I'd always leave the class feeling taller and more limber, and my head would be clear. And suddenly that night, I'd have a spontaneous lucid dream. I hadn't thought about it, hadn't planned to have a lucid dream. It just happened. And so sometimes I think, when we're in a more relaxed state, when our head is in a good state, then we're much more likely to have a lucid dream. So yeah, Stefan, there's a lot of things that might be the case there, and and all. So that's a great question. So now I'm going to go to the top here. Okay, David asked, do you have any thoughts on how perception works in lucid dreaming or astral projection? I've had a couple of experiences which developed from a dream or lucid dream that then went on to me astral projecting. The thing I noticed, I was watching myself like a third person being helped out of my body by a being. It was weird. Thanks, David. Yeah, so it's that's interesting. So sometimes in lucid dreams, I have seen another Robert Waggoner walking down the street who looks just like me. And so to me, that's a projection of my mind. That's a dream figure. That's a thought form. Is kind of another version of me. I remember one time I had a lucid dream where I saw one of my brothers, And so I thought, oh, this is an opportunity to do an experiment. So I asked my brother, a year from now, where will you be living? And he told me where he would be living. And I go, okay, and a year from now, will you be married? And he gave me a response. But right as I asked him the second question, another version of my brother appeared behind the first version. And the second version looked really concerned, like I was trying to uh, probe around in his mind a little bit too much. So, so, uh, so what I'm trying to get at is when you see two versions, you probably realize that one version, the first version, was just my projection of my brother within the lucid dream, because I remembered, oh, I wanted to do this experiment and try to see if I could get precognitive information. And then the next version was likely some deeper level of my brother who was aware that someone was probing into his future and all. As it turned out, both of the questions that he gave me, I had to wait a year to see if I was right. But both of the questions that the dream figure responded with were correct. So that was interesting. So, so how does perception work in lucid dreaming or astral projection? I want to tell you something that I've noticed about lucid dreaming. Um, so you have to realize I've had more than 1,000 lucid dreams, and I'm just of an experimental mindset. I want to tell you that I um, think if there was a bubble around you, like a theatrical cinematic bubble where images could get projected. I think in a dream or a lucid dream, in many respects, our mental energy is being projected out there into symbols, into objects, into figures, and whatever. And it's being projected onto this bubble screen that surrounds us within the dream state. And the reason I say it's a bubble screen is sometimes I've asked to have experiences, and then it's like the bubble opens up a little bit to let in the experience. It's like the screen opens to let in the experience. And so I think perception is a little bit interesting in lucid dreaming like that. Um, there's an article in the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine. You might have to Google search Ed Kellogg and lucid dreaming perception. So he did some perception thing. I think in the lucid dream, he put out his thumb and then he followed his thumb out there. If you put the thumb right in front of your eyes, you'll have two views of your thumb. But at some point, the thumb will be just one coherent thumb. And so I think that's the experiment that Ed did, because in waking world, you look at your thumb and now I'm seeing two thumbs. Now I move my thumb and it gets out about 18 inches and now I see one thumb. So you could play around with this a little bit and all. But David, you have a good question there. I think you're going to have to play with it. Sometimes though, I think when we see ourselves, again, it's the thought image of ourselves. It's the projected image of ourselves. Napoleon asked, can we have a permanent base we can continuously spawn to, like our lucid dream house, where we can return to again and again? So then he brings up how I wrote in my book about dream mapping, which native peoples oftentimes use as a way of working in the lucid dream world. They do what's a technique called dream mapping. And so Napoleon goes on, can we map out a geographic location in the dream state where we can navigate to, like our dream house, dream paint shop, dream office, etc.? Okay, so good question, Napoleon. Here's what I would say. You can create your own lucid dream home base if you want to have a home base. And so it can be the house you're sleeping in, it could be your childhood house, it could be an imagined place, your lucid dream place. And if you focus on it enough and go there often enough, I think you'll find that you create a beginning spot. What I would say is that the lucid dreaming house is the mind. You always have your mind with you in a lucid dream. And so, in many respects, you take your house with you, you take your mind with you. It's like the movie character in The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai stated, no matter where you go, there you are. You take your mind with you, and your mind gets expressed wherever you go. That's how I think about it. Could you map out a geographic location? Sure. If you start to do the dream mapping, in my dreams, normally I have a sense of what is north. And I don't know why I have that sense. For 25 years, I traveled a lot, around a lot. I was in sales and marketing. And I always had this sense of, oh, north is this way. And even in my dreams, I know which way is north. And so if you start to do dream mapping like dream mappers do, I think you'll always have a sense of where home base is if you begin to do that. But yeah, that'd be an interesting psychological exercise. So I'm going to wish you well on that one. So Anisha asked a wonderful question. Can we trust what dream characters answer when we ask the question, tell me something I need to know? I asked my dead grandmother this question in a lucid dream, and she responded with a very disturbing answer about my son. I woke up shaken. Any suggestions how to explore this further in a genuine way? Okay, so here's what I would say, Anisha. In my books, I say that all dream figures are not created equal. Some dream figures, they're thought forms, they're projections of your mind. Oftentimes you'll ask them a question and they won't even respond, or they'll respond with a gibberish. So they're not a very thoughtful dream figure. And then occasionally you'll find dream figures who are very thoughtful, and you ask them a question and they give you a plausible answer. But there are special dream figures, and I would consider a special dream figure as a dream figure who's a deceased relative. And so whenever I see a deceased relative, I would ask them, what do you have to say to me? Because for some reason, they're in this lucid dream. And oftentimes they'll tell me something very important. So, for example, the last time this happened, well, one of the last times it happened, it was on January 1st of 2022. I see the deceased, my mother-in-law, who passed away 10 years ago. But I suddenly become lucid when I see her because I know she's been dead for 10 years. And then I think, okay, first, she looks like she's about 40 years old. She looked like she sewed the dress that she's wearing in the lucid dream. And so I go up and talk to her and I say, Nona, what do you have to say to me? And she says, I want you to understand that September is a very important month. And I started to laugh because I thought, what a strange thing to tell me after being deceased for 10 years. And so I said, if you think September is important, I'm sure it's important. And she looks at me and goes, no, September is going to be a very important month for you. And I go, okay, I'm going to wake up and write this down. And so the lucid dream ended and I woke up and wrote it down. And I told my wife, I said, your mom appeared in a lucid dream last night. And I think she's telling me that my mom is going to pass away in September, or something really big is going to happen. But I think it's my mom's going to pass away. And so in August of that year, my wife and I drove 8 hours to my home and met spent the whole weekend being with my mom and enjoying my mom's company. And then the next weekend, she passed away. So she did pass away, I think September 3rd of 2022. So the beautiful thing about it was this: it gave me 9 months to accept that this is probably going to be the final year of my mom's life. And in fact, she'll probably pass away in September. And I remember one time when I was like 21, one of my friends got married and his wife immediately was going to have a baby. And I asked him, Rod, how are you dealing with this? And he says, the nice thing is I have 7 months to wrap my head around the idea that I'm going to be 21 years old and a father of a little baby. And I thought, oh yeah, I guess that's kind of nice. But my mother-in-law gave me 9 months notice, and so that's good. So, Anisha, if you go to my website and send in, if you'll tell me more about the story, I don't want you to tell everyone here. If you tell me more about the story, then I'll give you my personal appraisal of it. Sometimes it has to do with our relationship with our loved ones. I liked my mother-in-law. She was always very nice to me, so I had a good relationship with her. I love my mom, always had a good relationship with her. But let's say I saw a deceased relative who I never trusted, who was a persistent liar, and they told me, blah, blah, blah in a lucid dream. I would wake up and I'd go, I don't know what to do with this because cousin Joe was a liar. He was a constant liar. He lied all the time and all. So again, there can be aspects that would make me not trust a deceased relative who showed up in a lucid dream. So thank you. That's a really a good question. And so if you go to one of my websites and submit a question, I'll try to get back to you. We're going to go to Chris next. Chris asks, after about 4 years of practice, I have come to the point where I can become lucid once or twice a week. I'm trying to move past the basic exploring, such as flying and looking around. And I'm starting to ask questions such as, show me something important for me to see. As soon as I do this, I almost immediately lose lucidity. Whereas before, I could maintain lucidity for about 5 to 10 minutes. Is there another clarity exercise or something else I can do to keep lucidity, or will this just take extra time to learn to achieve? Okay, so Chris, first, congratulations on getting to that level of lucid dreaming. Yeah, and thank. Okay, okay. I hope everyone can still hear me. Yeah. And if everyone would mute themselves, that'd be great. So Chris, congratulations on getting to that level of lucid dreaming and also that level of exploring around. Here's what I would say. Some people get concerned at this idea of interacting with the unconscious in a lucid dream. And you write, as soon as you ask a question of the unconscious mind in a lucid dream, you almost immediately lose lucidity. And I don't know if you wake up or just return to regular dreaming. So what I would say is that it sounds like to me, you have a concern or a fear about this and shut everything down. And for you, it might even be on an unconscious level. Oh, I'm shutting things down because oftentimes the ego wants to reign supreme. And when it hears from the unconscious, it's like, no way, I don't want to go there, because the ego and conscious self want to reign supreme. So if I were you, I'd ignore that. I would ignore asking questions of my unconscious mind. And instead, in the waking state, I would try to see if I had a fear or a concern about the unconscious mind. Sometimes when I bring up this idea of interacting with the unconscious mind, sometimes people, they'll send me these notes and it's obviously that they've turned it into something else, like they're talking to God. I don't think of interacting with the unconscious mind. It's not on this in the same league as interacting with God, or they'll have some wild notion of their own about it, which makes them very fearful. So if you have that, I would, in the waking state, try to resolve that. I bring that up because if you read this book, Lucid Dreaming, Plain and Simple, with my co-author, Caroline McCready, Caroline, in her chapters, supplied a fascinating lucid dream. So she became lucidly aware, stabilized the lucid dream, and she asked her unconscious mind, show me my greatest fear. And she said, suddenly in the lucid dream in front of her appeared the symbol of death. So this hooded, cloaked man with the face you couldn't see, with a sigh, just the typical kind of Halloween image of death. And she said she got so freaked out, so fearful, that she woke up. And then she rolled over in bed, and laying next to her in bed was death. She was having a false awakening, and then she woke up for real. So when she woke up, she began to think about it. And she realized that she truly did have a fear of death. And so she knew that to grow as a person and grow as a lucid dreamer, she had to resolve her fears. And so she began to read books about on death and dying and the death and dying process and all that kind of thing. And she became to kind of accept death and realize, we need to have death. We can't have people live, 10,000 years, because then the planet will be way too populated and all that kind of stuff. She came to accept death. So it took her about a month. And so for a month later, she becomes lucidly aware, and she announces again, hey, dream, show me my greatest fear. And this time, death appeared again. But this time, instead of being freaked out, she realized she accepted death, and she stepped forward, and death stepped forward a step, and they hugged each other. And she said there was this brilliant explosion of light. And when she woke up, she said she had no fear of death after that. What was interesting about this is that I think within a year or two, her father passed away unexpectedly, relatively young. And I think by dealing with this death fear in her lucid dream state, that I think it probably helped her deal with the early passing of her father. So again, people think, oh, it's just random stuff that comes to you. And that's not what I'm experiencing in my lucid dreams. When I ask questions of the unconscious mind, sometimes I get answers like Nod just says that I'm thinking, what? I don't get this. But other times when I get answers, I go, oh, that is really thoughtful. That's really intelligent. So anyway, Chris, keep working with that. Become comfortable with the unconscious mind. Read some Carl Jung or whatever. Try to appreciate that we have an unconscious mind that's constantly helping us sort through things, even though we're not consciously aware with it. Okay, JY asks, I know my dream signs, but I'm having trouble getting conscious even when I keep running into these dream signs in my dream to become lucid. Any tips? Okay, so in our book, Lucid Dreaming, Plain and Simple, I say that dream signs can really help you become lucidly aware. But the problem is that people pick non-helpful dream signs. They pick dream signs like, oh, I'm going to pick my mom. And now my mom's a dream sign. But the next night they have a dream and there's mom, and they just keep going. or I'm going to pick my elementary school as a dream sign. Help me become lucid. And now I'm back in the fifth grade and hanging out with my friends, and I don't become lucid. So again, just because you, the ego waking you, said this is a dream sign doesn't really make it a dream sign. And that's why in my book, Lucid Dreaming, Plain and Simple, here's what I suggest people do. On some night, clear your head, erase all the day residue, and tell yourself, tonight in my dreams, I want to have one clear dream sign appear that will help me become lucidly aware. So you're asking your unconscious mind to show you the dream sign that'll help you become lucidly aware. And when I've been at conferences and workshops of mine where I've done this for the participants, like the next morning, someone would say, "Oh, last night I did that before I went to sleep. And that night I found myself, and on my arm, I had this powerful gold wrist band with a snake's head. And now I realize that's my dream sign." Another woman said that she asked to have her dream sign, and she said she saw her mother first as an 80-year-old woman, like she is, then as a 5-year-old girl, then as a 15-year-old girl, then as a 30-year-old girl, then as a 50-year-old girl, and then as an 80-year-old woman. And I said, "Oh, you saw something progress in time." It's not necessarily that her mom is the dream sign, but it's something moving in time from old to young, older, back to young, older. So again, the unconscious provided what the dream sign should be. And so if I were you, JY, if the dream signs that you selected aren't working, then I would ask my unconscious mind before sleep, "Hey, dream self, give me a dream sign that's going to help me become lucidly aware," and do it like that. The other approach that I write about in my books is how I became lucidly aware back 5 years before the scientific evidence emerged. And back then, I would do this technique. So this is back in 1975 when I was in high school. I'd put my hands right in front of my face, and I would say in my mind very, very quietly, "Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming." And I'd say that for about 5 minutes and then fall asleep. I did this for 3 nights. And on the third night, I'm walking through my high school hallway, and then suddenly my hands popped right in front of my face. And I go, "Oh crap, this is a dream. I'm dreaming this." And I knew those football players, hey, they're dream figures. And I reached over and touched the wall, and it felt cool and nubby, just like it should. But I knew I'm in a dream. This is a dream. And I walked out to the administration building, and I had a wild lucid dream after that. You can read about it in my books. But that's how I would become lucidly aware. Each night, tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. So I might be climbing a ladder in my dream and go, "Wait a second, my hands? Oh, this is a dream." I might be opening a door in the lucid or in the dream and go, "Oh, my hand, this is a dream." But I made my hands the symbol. And that's what psychologists call a conditioned response. The stimulus is the hand. See the hand? Hey, this is a dream. The response is, this is a dream. So it's another way that you can become lucidly aware. So I made my hands the dream sign. See my hands? This is a dream. Works like magic. Okay, Jeffrey writes, "When I wake up to record my dreams, I can't get back to sleep." Okay, so I'll tell you what I do, Jeffrey, because that's a problem, and the same thing happened to me. When I wake up in the night in my dream journal, here I'll reach and feel, okay, upper left-hand corner, okay, cat, boat, storm. I'll just put 3 things that happened in the dream: cat, boat, storm. Oh yeah, I was with our cat Penny, and we were on this boat, and all of a sudden a storm came up, and oh, we almost capsize and blah, blah, blah. When I wake up, I remember the entire dream, but I can write that in about 15 seconds and fall back to sleep. But if I sit there and turn on the lights and write down the whole bloody dream, it's hard to fall back asleep. So don't do that. Or some people get a voice activated recorder, like my cat Penny and I were on a boat, storm came up, boat capsized, we floated to an island, and then they go back to sleep. But you're right, it's hard to do that. Then Jeffrey goes on. Also, when I try a lucid dream induction technique in the middle of the night, I stay awake and then have insomnia, and I need to sleep 7 or 8 hours. What do I do? Okay, so I think you've learned two things there. Don't write down your entire dreams. It'll make you wake up. The second thing, don't do lucid dream practices that require a lot of thinking and effort at night. Because if it does, you'll get excited about the idea of it, or your mind will get too waken up and you'll get insomnia. So that's one thing that I like about looking at my hands. I do it for 5 minutes before I go to sleep, and then I rely on my unconscious mind, my dreaming self, boom, to pull up my hands. And I go, oh crap, my hands, this is a dream. So I don't have to do anything at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to do anything at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm letting my unconscious mind, my subconscious mind, create the dream with the hands. And all I have to do is go, wait a second, my hands, this is a dream. So what I would suggest is you get a book, you find some techniques, and you do ones that don't require you to do stuff in the middle of the night. There's a lot of techniques out there. I've written a number of techniques in my books, so good luck with that. Okay, Heidi has a question. Robert, I've always heard that some people say that reality checks were necessary to be able to lucid dream. But one time in a talk like this, you said they weren't necessary. That said, what are some things I can do to induce a lucid dream? I've had one lucid dream in my entire life, and it was when I was a child. Okay, Heidi. I mentioned that organization that I'm part of, luciddreamingfoundation.org. If you go there and you go to the thing called Worldwide Education, we've created How to Lucid Dream, about a 10-page pamphlet in 20 different languages. So if you're German, there's a German version. If you're Dutch, there's a Dutch version. If you're Spanish, there's a Spanish version. Please go there and download our 10 or 20 page How to Lucid Dream. There I give 8 lucid dream techniques, and then I tell people how to stabilize a lucid dream. One thing I'll say that's a little bit unfortunate, in the waking world out there on the social media, there's some people, I don't know, I've been lucid dreaming for 40 some years. I started lucid dreaming before the scientific evidence emerged. There's a lot of good techniques, but they don't get any attention. And why do they not get any attention? Because there's a lot of people out there on social media who aren't really deep lucid dreamers, don't have very much understanding of the depth and history of it. Also, I'll tell everybody, reality checks. I probably do reality checks in about 1% of my lucid dreams. 99% of the time, I know that, hey, if that's my deceased mother-in-law, this is definitely a dream. I don't have to do a reality check to guarantee it or confirm it. And if you do a reality check, you always ought to do 2 or 3 in a row, because sometimes you'll have false reality checks. Oh, I can't get my finger through my hand. What's going on here? This must not be a dream. And of course, you are in a dream, but your reality check isn't working. Okay. Let's go. Okay, Heidi. David also asked, how accessible are the individual lucid dreams to other beings? Beings could be ancestors, other conscious beings. I don't know. I always consider my lucid dreams are part of Robert's reality. So there you go. Okay, Napoleon wrote, in Kenneth Kilser's book, Hey, somebody's reading Kenneth Kelser's book. Good for you. Kenneth Kelser was a psychotherapist. I think it was back in the late 70s or early 80s. He wrote a book, My Experiment with Lucid Dreaming. Really a fascinating book and really a nice guy. I met him at International Association for the Study of Dream conferences. Okay, he says the I see my hand technique stopped working after a while of using it for him. He just knew he was dreaming. Did this happen to you? Um, Sometimes I'm in a space and like, let's say I'm walking down the sidewalk and here's a mud puddle, and now I glide over the mud puddle that's 5 feet long, and then I go, wait a second, that's too weird. This is a dream. Or sometimes I'll find myself in a space and I'll go, you know what? This is just too dreamy. It just feels I haven't noticed anything unusual except it just feels dreamy, and I become lucidly aware. So, so Napoleon goes on. Does a technique stop working because you've attained critical awareness? I wouldn't necessarily say that. What I would say is that um, sometimes people move on from techniques and use other techniques, and sometimes their critical awareness does increase. I'm going to step away from the video for a second to turn off my dishwasher noise. So give me a second here, guys. Okay, you don't have to hear my Bosch dishwasher alert everyone that it's done. Okay, Anisha asks, how can we have better recall of dreams? Any suggestions? My recall is at an all-time low in 5 years. Um, Here's what I discovered with myself. I began to have so many dreams that in the morning I could spend 30 or 40 minutes writing down all these detailed dreams. And then after a while, my ego conscious Robert started to think, what a waste of time. This is crazy. And then my dream recall started to plummet. So if you tell yourselves that you don't want to recall your dreams because it takes too long and they're too detailed, or you're learning stuff about your self that you don't want to know, you will automatically shut down your dream recall. So here's what I would suggest. You got to figure out why the dream recall is decreasing. Do you so here's something interesting, Anisha. Again, I've been lucid dreaming for more than 40 years and had a lot of experience. I remember one time I stopped lucid dreaming, and a month went by, hadn't had a lucid dream. 2 months went by, hadn't had a lucid dream. 3 months went by, I had a lucid dream. I thought, what's going on here? I haven't had any lucid dreams in 3 months. So then I got out my dream journal and I went back and looked at the last lucid dream I had. And you know what? In that last lucid dream, my inner awareness, my unconscious mind suggested that I do something that I found alarming, that the ego, Robert, didn't want to do. It was a fear area that I did not want to solve. And you know what? After that, I stopped lucid dreaming. So I think what happened is this: the ego conscious self decided to not have lucid dreams because it did not want to resolve the issue that the last lucid dream brought up. So this shows us how we have to understand the psychology of lucid dreaming. If the ego self is against it, feels alarmed by it, your lucid dreaming can stop. A lot of times people have called me in, Robert, haven't had a lucid dream, 5 or 6 months, what's going on? I ask them, go back to the last lucid dream you have and see if there was a fear or concern that your ego self felt in that lucid dream. And a lot of times they write back to me and say, oh, yeah, my lucid dreaming self is asking me to get over this one issue. And I don't want to. And I said, well, when you agree to get over it, your lucid dreams will start up again. And so that's what I did when I saw what the fear concern was, how the lucid dream was asking me to grow, but nope, my ego is concerned. I realized, okay, my deeper self knows more than I do, has a higher perspective than I do. And so I agreed to go along with it, and my lucid dreams returned. So, Anisha, if your dreams are falling apart and you're not having very many, ask yourself, am I afraid of dreaming? Am I afraid of what I'm learning? It was interesting. You also provided the lucid dream experience that your mother appeared and told you something about your son, and you didn't want to hear it. When you don't want to hear something, you'll stop having dreams. When you don't want to hear stuff in the waking world, you'll start to have ear problems. Your hearing will decrease. We're psychological beings. If I just think we all have to acknowledge that we're psychological beings. Okay, getting down to the end here. Andrew, I hear all the time that one of the most important fundamental steps to lucid dreaming is keeping a dream journal. But a big hurdle that I've been encountering is that by the time I reach my journal, my memory of the dream has already turned too fuzzy to have anything worthwhile to write down. Do you have any advice on how to handle that? Andrew, that is a wonderful question, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'll tell you what I do. I realize that within 15 or 20 seconds of looking around for my pen and my dream journal, I could lose the dream right then and there. So when I wake up in the middle of the night, I sit there for a second. What was I just dreaming? My first thought is, what was I just dreaming? Oh, yeah, I was on a boat with my cat Penny, and suddenly a storm came up, and oh, yeah. So before I reach for my pen, before I reach for the dream journal, I stop and encapsulate that dream memory in my mind. And then I can turn over and find my pen and write down a few notes. So that's a good one. That's how I handle that. Shauna has to run. Goodbye. Thanks. Well, anyway, it looks like we've come to the end of the questions, and I just want to thank again Jake Thompson at worldofluciddreaming.com for sponsoring these talks. What I'm going to try to do is set up a time to do this once a month, so you'll kind of know regularly, okay, you know, this certain day of the month we're going to all get together. And also, I hope everyone will check out World of Lucid Dreaming. They have some wonderful courses there and other information and all. It makes for a great place. Also, I want to thank again everyone who submitted a lucid dream to the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine, which you can get at luciddreamingmagazine.com for free. Sometimes, and one reason that I've been doing this with my co-author or co-editor, Lucy Gillis, for 20 years, the magazine, is that I use it as a way to get inspired about lucid dreaming. When I'm here in the back 15 pages reading people's lucid dreams, sometimes they crack me up and I wonder, could you really do that in a lucid dream? And so that's how I use the magazine to help expand my mind. And by expanding my mind, oftentimes I'll lucid dream about their lucid dream experience because I'll get so curious. Could you really do that in a lucid dream? And then I'll have a lucid dream as a result. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Pay attention to worldofluciddreaming.com on Facebook, and they'll tell you the next time we're up. But we'll be sure and do something in November so we can all get together again. Thanks, everyone. Bye.